For those people that think it's like so easy and you're gonna make so much money selling courses and stuff like that, yo, sell a course and let's see how it goes for you. Most people that are talking all that stuff, bro, I guarantee you they won't make much money from a course any to begin with. You know what I mean? And it's just mind baffling, man. It really does.
Welcome everyone to another Words of Rizdom podcast. This is the first podcast overseas. We're here in New York, and it would be wrong of me to not come to New York and not get on our good friend Omar, from the founder of Train and Trade. And well, thank you for coming down.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. I mean, we talked about this a few months ago when you were in London, like if I was ever going to come to London to stop by. So it went all full circle. Now you're here in New York.
That's it. You know, crazy New York, man. I know it's been, I really wanted to get it done. I tried to message Paladin as well.
Yeah.
I think, is he from New York?
Yeah, but he might, don't quote me on this, but I think he was still in school. So he's like upstate New York right now.
Oh, okay.
So that's about like 3-4 hour drive. And I think he actually talked about traveling. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said. So, yeah, but we, no doubt, if you ever come over to London, we'll get it in there. But
of course, man.
Of course, now we're here. And, it's a beautiful studio as well. And we're very lucky to have you. We're very lucky to have you,
man. Thank you.
I know a lot of people on Twitter will know you. You're the OG on Twitter in comparison to me, for sure. Same on YouTube, to be fair. But for my audience, they might not know of you. They might not have heard of you. Obviously, your links will be in the description, YouTube, Twitter. But why don't you tell us a bit about your journey, your trading journey so far, and sort of what's gotten to where you are now?
Yeah, man. So I actually started trading towards the end of 2016, going on to 2017. But I started with equities. But everyone who's like kind of familiar with equities, they'll know like you need $25,000 to day trade. And obviously I was still in school at the time. So like that wasn't an option. So I was still like learning. They also actually had a program with, I believe they were called TradeNet, which is very similar to funded companies, except you didn't pass an evaluation. You got a funded account right away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you just pay a fee, you get the education, the chat room. It was a really good deal. But then now that they can't do business here in the US. So it's only, so like if
you guys have struggle with that.
Yeah. So if there's any UK traders that want to be involved with stocks, I think that program is still up. But yeah, man, so that was kind of my start. Then in 2018, I met a friend who was trading futures, and then he put me on to Forex because he's like, bro, like you're making baby gains with stocks because you don't have the capital. Just go to Forex. You have margins. You could take a $2,000 account and really flip it. So that's kind of like where the journey began, man.
Okay.
In 2018 with the Forex.
That's the interesting thing. In the US, a lot of guys they go into equities or futures or stocks. While in the UK, from what I've found, especially with myself, but even a lot of the traders that I know, they all just start with Forex. Like it's not as big hearing about stocks or equities or futures. And I'm sure there are people who do them.
Yeah.
Saying that, Mark started, I think, in stocks. But yeah, like nowadays, everyone just gets in straight into Forex. So it's very interesting. How did you find the transition between them?
Man, it's funny because I always talk about it like I really believe that Forex is way more difficult than equities. There's obviously pros and cons to each. But I feel like with equities, like especially if you're someone who's a scalper, it's very easy to kind of scalp in equities. Let me not say very easy, but it's easier because again, you only have the market open volatility.
Yeah.
And then you're not, you don't like the market actually being closed, in my opinion, is actually beneficial because it forces you, like you cannot watch the charts at any time. But the problem is like, with Forex being open 24/5, pretty much Monday to Friday, the issue is like you go, especially here in the US, like London sessions in the middle of the night, bro, 2 a.m., 4 a.m. So that transition was very difficult because like, no one, like everyone's going to be undisciplined when they first start.
Yeah.
So that was kind of me. And then sometimes I'll find myself like at midnight trading, even though I know I shouldn't have been, like losing sleep, all that. So like it was, the transition was very difficult. And I think technically in terms of like charting, it was actually more difficult, especially with FX, learning the technicals, learning like the fundamentals and stuff like that of currencies. That was it was a much tougher transition.
Yeah, but worth it.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure, man.
But like during the start of your journey, then you said you started in school when you're finishing up school.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
27.
27.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. I kept thinking when you said school, you're like 23 or something. I was like,
no.
It keeps happening. It keeps happening. But no, that's really good, man. And I've read your tweet before. I've read a tweet of yours before where you said you were used to work in like shisha lounges.
Yeah.
So what was that like? So was that during sort of that period of learning still?
Yeah. So when I started in 2017, it was still during the SOC days when I was making that transition to FX. But I was still like Yeah, I just needed like pretty much somewhere to work.
Hmm.
The um, the shisha spot, they pretty much were paying like off the books, so I didn't like so I wasn't getting taxed on that.
Mm.
And then yeah, bro, it was a fun job too because I was working with a lot of people that like people my age. It was fun.
Of
It
course.
was also like the little bit of a lifestyle. So like
Mm.
on Saturday nights, Friday nights, it was fun. Like I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? So I was getting paid. It wasn't much really, but like still like I was having fun. So that was kind of made the job a lot easier. So that's kind of where yes, but it was during the time I was still like learning. So do
Just
that.
bringing in some form of income to keep you going by.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, at the time, that was when I dropped out, so it wasn't like I don't really have a degree or anything to kind of go based off of.
Mm.
But I did get into like kind of like quote unquote corporate, where I started doing insurance and stuff like that.
Is that
But
sales?
yeah, insurance sales. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So this is an interesting thing because I went down like a very similar route where I dropped out of college, what we would call college,
uni.
back in the UK.
Yeah.
Well, it was before uni. So our college, I think, is before uni.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
Really?
sure how it works here, to be fair. But basically, I dropped out, so I didn't have any qualifications. So that leads you, and this is what I say to people. I get a lot of people messaging me like, "Should I drop out of university, and chase trading, go all in on trading?" I say, look, you can, but at the end of the day, if you have nothing, if you have nothing to back you up, you're going to have to accept that the sort of jobs you'll get, either the only good ones really that can pay well are sales, right? Because it's commission, and overtime.
Exactly.
While jobs like, I worked in like chicken shops. I didn't work in shisha lounges. My friends owned shisha lounges, and I used to go help out. So I didn't
Yeah.
actually work there. But like those are the sort of jobs you're kind of limited to,
Exactly. Yep.
right? And there's benefits to them as well because it's more relaxed. Like you can choose the hours, and as you see, you got a bit more of a nightlife. It's a bit more. It's kind of like a fun time while working. Those sort
Yeah,
of jobs,
I agree. Yeah.
and compared to the sales ones where it's full on, the hours. But how did you find going through that where you're kind of not making a lot of money, but you have this vision on this side with trading, with investing, where I'm guessing you're wanting to see much larger capital. How did you sort of have patience, or did you maybe struggle with having the patience at the time?
Yeah, man. Honestly, like it was difficult because like I was only getting paid like $400 a week, so
Mm.
it really wasn't much at all. But I was living at home, so I didn't really have like that much expenses.
Mm.
So I was able to save majority of it. But the problem is, again, like we're gonna get into like prop firms back like probably later on. But like
Mm.
back then in 2018, they weren't really prevalent like that. So like you had to fund an account like with
Yeah.
$500, $1,000. And I remember I talked about it on the Trading Up podcast as well, where I would consistently do that.
Mhm.
Just fund $500 like after like maybe 2 weeks of working, just put $500 in the account while still like learning. I did go through like the ICT mentorship at the time as well.
Mhm.
So again, like it was a constant struggle. But at the end of the day, man, like I was always a pretty confident person.
Mhm.
Like I know some people like within the trading niche kind of struggle with confidence,
Yeah.
but like it was never like a big thing for me. Like I always knew like, all right, like when I listen to different podcasts and listen to people who've already like achieved the things that I wanted to achieve at the
Mhm.
time, it was like, all right, well, this person really isn't anything special, right? Not
Yeah.
to take away from other people, but it's just I know like, all right, this person has like an average IQ, average intellect. Like
Mm.
if this person can make it work, I know I have the full capabilities of doing so. So that kind of always kept me going. I knew it was a long process too, because that was the one thing about me, even to this day. Like I'm always learning from other people with
Mhm.
all the access to resources that we have with
That's it, yeah.
podcasts, YouTube videos, Instagram, social media. So when I find someone who has things that I want to aspire to be, I kind of listen to their process. And dude, the consistent thing with every single trader was most of them all had to struggle the first few years. So it
Yeah.
kind of I didn't have like crazy expectations. So I think it made it easier, honestly, mentally to kind of like accept, like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna have to stick through the process. Like it may take a few years. Obviously it's difficult still because when you're blowing accounts and you feel like you're not making any progress, it still sucks. But I was making enough progress slowly throughout, like, the journey in the beginning where, it kind of reignited the dream.
That's it. Well, I love to hear that because it's very interesting what you say and it's so true, is that other successful people, when you hear their stories, whether it's on podcasts, books, whatever it may be, you realize that they're no different to us, right? They're a lot of them, especially like a lot of stars, say from New York, right? Because you would hear a lot more about them, especially if they're from your area, for example. You'll realize that they literally grew up probably 2 streets down the road, or went to the same school here or the same college there. So therefore, it just allows you, with your perception, to realize that anyone can do anything. Because that's why you get a lot of people who may grow up in, where the observation of success are people who are doing crime, or doing more shady things. But that's the only view they have of success. There isn't like a successful investor from their neighborhood, and they personally, it's still their fault because they haven't try to research other people in that way. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's so easy to see why people fall into the trap, because if all they see, if the only people who have the cars or the lifestyle or the successful image are people of this nature, they're not going to see anything outside of that box because that's in their environment. So it's very interesting you say that, because you're so right in saying that a lot of people struggle with confidence. And I've only started to really pick up on it more over recent months, because I'm talking to students, I'm talking to people who message me off the back of the podcast. And there's a lot of people who struggle with confidence, just believing in themselves, you know? And it's crazy because for me, I'm very similar. Like I've always had this self-belief. It was still hard. There's still moments where I did doubt myself even. I thought, maybe I'm not cut out for this.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not meant to be a trader, right? Maybe I'll be good at something else. I still believed I'll be good at something. But maybe I did have moments where I was like, when I blow an account, you know, maybe the 10th account, I'd be like, maybe this is not for me, you know? But then still that self-belief just said, okay, what was it I need to learn, you know? So when you're going through that phase, because it's very difficult when you're making, smaller amounts of money and then you're putting, say, 50% of that money into a trading account, which, yes, we know about when you're trading, say, $500, $1,000, we want to stick to our risk management, you know?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's small money. So you're trying to build that capital. So, of course, you're going to take higher risks. And I'm guessing in the beginning of the journey, it was probably a lot harder and those risks would probably fall out of control a bit. But how did you sort of overcome those hurdles in going through those smaller accounts?
To be honest, bro, like, because so 2018, so pretty much let me go through like kind of like the mentors that I went through, and kind of like the progression of, because that played a big part into it. So when I first started, I remember the first account that I deposited was a $2,000 account, and that was after I went through. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Steve Morrow.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he's like beat the market makers course or whatever. A friend of mine, the same friend that put me onto Forex, he put me in a group chat with a bunch of friends, and they were very kind enough to send me like different types of information. Like they would, if someone bought a course, they would share it with the group.
Okay.
So it was like, it was pretty cool. So I went through that. It was like a 13-hour boot camp. So went through it twice, man, in the span of like one weekend. Just kind of locked myself in the door, like, you know what I mean? At the time, like, it was like, what, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just straight rewatching, charting and stuff like that. And I actually like found like a divergence setup that he was talking about in the course.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, this kind of resonates with me. I'm kind of more contrarian at the time. So I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? I like reversal setup. So let's go ahead, let's try this out. And like I actually flipped like $2,000 up to like $6,000 within like 2 weeks. But obviously it was with over trading, because at the time, like, because the course didn't really talk about risk management.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe now he did. Because like again, that's like 4 years ago. So maybe he updated his course.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it doesn't have risk management now, but like, I
Back
wasn't
then it
taught
wasn't there, yeah.
exactly. So I had no clue of like in terms of like how much I'd be risking. I would just scale into positions in drawdown, and then if I caught the reversal,
Okay. It would work out.
it would work out,
Amazing,
right?
yeah.
But then I thought like, dude, I thought I had it figured out, and then at that point, that's when I lost like majority of the money, and I brought the account back to $1,200. And then I kind of just like withdrew and like took, because I'm like, all right. I was like self-aware enough to realize like, okay, this can't be like everything that's kind of out there.
Yeah.
So let me like look into it. And then someone told me that he kind of like uses similar concepts to ICT.
Okay.
And he was actually doing an enrollment. That was September of 2018. So that's when I kind of enrolled. Plus, it was only $150 a month for 12 months, and you get lifetime access. I'm like, dude, like $150 a month, like I can easily pay, even with the job that I was like with the with the shisha lounge. Like even if I didn't get another job, I'm like, dude, $150, I'm living at home. It's nothing. You know what I mean? I'll just.
It's worth the sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So then I went through that. But it was difficult, man, because like, you're familiar with like how the mentorship goes for ICT?
I mean, they do month by month, right?
So you get new content per month. So the problem is you didn't have like the full piece of the puzzle. And I'll say this, he does tell you in the beginning, like, you don't trade for that full 12 months. But it's like, come on, bro. Like no one's really gonna listen to that. You know what I mean? No trader. And again, so like, but fair play to him, because he did tell everyone not to do that. Because again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But we still gave it a shot. And then I found like one setup that I really liked. It was just like a basic stop hunt of prior day highs, prior day lows. Found a little bit of success with that. But yeah, man, just to go back to the original question, like I was smart enough at the time and like, very like self-aware at the time, knowing like, okay, I'm going to be learning new things every single month. So like we'll still trade. We'll still stick to like, one setup, one model at the time being, and then maybe add. So like I was only depositing, dude, like $500 in an account, and then slowly like I would either grow it and then blow it and end up blowing it. Because again, you're going to have that one day where you're just tired of like, the small gains. You know what I mean? And then, so I was doing that pretty much majority of 2019. but I did have a little bit of success like with that strategy because I was able to, at the very least, stay consistent with like in terms of discipline,
Mm.
just executing that, focusing on just one thing. You know what I mean? Not deviating. And then yeah, it was difficult because again with smaller capital. I mean, it was good that they didn't have enough capital because I probably would have blew that anyways.
Yeah.
To be honest, because I see people like a lot of these e-commerce dudes that get into trading. I see them blowing 50 grand like it's nothing, bro.
Yeah, well, this is the issue. Like when you have money already, and you talk to people were in real estate, even
Yeah,
or like they've done really well in stock. So when they have the funds, it's a very dangerous game.
it
Very
is.
dangerous game
It is.
because that's why I say even with prop firms, because it's such a beautiful thing having the availability of prop firms. But I always think back, if I had the option of a prop firm when I started, it probably would have been super negative because instead of putting 500 in an account or 1,000 in an account, I would buy a prop firm account. But the psychology that kind of is a trick in a way
Yeah.
that, oh, I've lost 100 grand when you haven't, you just lost £500,
Yeah.
$500. But so, the psychological damage that people go through in terms of these prop firms, and it really is self-inflicted, because you know the rules.
Yeah.
You know exactly how it's set up. You know how the business model is, everything. But it's self-inflicted because you allow your limiting beliefs. You allow your mind to say, oh, you've lost 100 grand. Oh, you're a shit trader because you didn't make 10%. You only made 6.
Right.
So, it's self-inflicted. But I know for a fact, even then, like, if prop firms were sort of bigger or around when I started, I would probably have thrown so much money. I probably would have quit because I would have probably spent, instead of 3 years, losing money, losing small amounts of money that added up to a large amount, of course. But in case, mindset-wise, if I did the same with prop firm accounts, probably would have ended up quitting because I probably would have said, I've never achieved the 10%. I can't hit this 10%. I'm obviously not a good trader because that's what it means, hitting this 10% being funded, And that's what a lot of people believe now. Unfortunately, they just believe that you can only be a good trader or you're only a profitable trader if you've made 10%, if you can make 10% every month.
Yeah, and actually, that's actually a good point that you bring up that I never really thought about like that from a newer trader's perspective. Because again, like when we started, prop firms really weren't around like that at all. Like, well, those types of prop firms, right? Not the brick and mortar one.
Yeah.
But that's actually really interesting because, I never thought of it from the perspective of someone who's brand new. And if anyone's listening to this, guys, like, listen, there's good traders out there who actually can't pass prop challenges because their risk model doesn't actually coincide with what they have to do. Like some people have a more open approach. And this is one of the styles I used to do last year where it was like, more like, all right, I'm going to scale in at this 4-hour level. I'm going to kind of play it with an open stop loss. But nowadays, if, with the prop rules, you have a specific percentage you can't lose for the day.
Yeah.
So that actually might be detrimental to someone who has that type of approach because you have a specific daily drawdown limit. And even like, let's just say someone who holds for a bigger move, like if let's say you're up like, let's say $1,000 on a trade and then you hold it past 5 p.m. There's some of these prop firms that now you only have like the $5,000 drawdown for a 100K account, for example. You can't lose the 1,000, then you can't lose 4 grand.
Yeah.
So now, so the floating profits are now into that. So that affects your style as well. If you're someone who's looking for a daily target, so that's why it's not indicative of like your trading ability, in my opinion. I think you have to kind of cater your system or strategy to abide by those rules.
Yeah.
And I think but like just because you can't pass a prop firm challenge, in my opinion, dude, it doesn't mean you can't trade because if you do 4% every single month. Like, dude, you're gonna do well for yourself. Whether you seek like maybe outside investor capital, make connections, build a brand, get more access to capital that way, or maybe like okay, I can do 4%, so let me up my risk in the challenges, and then maybe go through a risk model and stuff like that. But just because you can't pass a challenge, that's why I don't make fun of people who prefer their own capital or do whatever they want to do because, dude, at the end of the day, it's all preference. Like if you can pass a challenge. And you prefer that route, perfect. If you're someone who's like, yo, screw these challenges, I don't want to have any limitations. If I want to risk my whole account, I want to risk it. Do it by all means. You know what I mean? At the end,
that's the beauty with trading is like it's so individual.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what you do, I do, or anyone else does. Like it has no impact on your P&L.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know if I think it's the way of the world. I don't think it's like nowadays. A lot of the time, I find myself saying like in this day and age, or because of social media or anything. But I think. People having opinions has always been an issue. I think throughout history, it's always been a problem, people having opinions. And, it's just nowadays it's so easy for someone across the world with no face, right, to be able to throw their opinion our way. And it's just the way it is. It's just, I think it's something you accept, especially a lot of the time what I've found is when people do that, when they have these opinions, and they really want to, say that their opinion's right, etc. Like I feel like the wise, the open-minded understand that everyone can there's an infinite number of ways of trading, infinite number of ways of trading capital, whether it's funded or whatever it may be. It's all personal preference. But then there's those who are small-minded or just believe that what they know is right. And it's always people with ghost accounts. It's always people who don't put any content or any value out in the world whatsoever. And the only value essentially they're putting out isn't valuable. It's just a very caged in mindset, And I always just find it very interesting because I've yet to have someone, let's say, like yourself, let's say if you turned around to me and said, you put out content, you do YouTube, etc. And you turned around to me and said, hey, this is wrong, I've yet to have that. I've not had that yet. I've only ever had, and it doesn't happen too often, but like ghost accounts, just fully ghost accounts. And it just shows like that's the character. And that's why it's like, I think you do the same, just block. Just block.
Yeah.
There's no point giving energy to it because, at the end of the day, we're here to trade. And to trade properly, you have to have that sort of more balanced mindset. And if you allow these trolls or these people just online, or just generally people's opinions, could even be family and friends, Did you ever have that in your journey? Did you ever have did you have it a lot? Yeah,
I remember I tweeted once about like, because dude, my mom, well, my dad was more supportive because my dad, he's like more like entrepreneurial.
Okay. Yeah.
But my mom, she was not happy, especially because she found I didn't tell them I dropped out and to work at the lounge, and then they ended up finding out. And she was she was pissed. Like she was not happy at all.
How did you overcome that though? Was it just a case?
No, well, it's you know what it is. Because dude, like the thing is, I already knew they don't know what I know. Like when you talk about, especially because like they're like first generation in America, and stuff like that. And my dad and mom came here after they got married, from Egypt. So I already knew, like, listen, their experiences are not gonna. They don't understand how like things work nowadays. You know what I mean? So they're coming from a place of ignorance. You know what I mean? Like I say that respectfully, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
But like ignorance is just lack of knowledge. It's not like, I know some people think it's like a negative word, but they're just coming from a lack of knowledge. So they don't know the types of opportunities that we have.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like being in like major cities like London or New York or stuff like that, having access to all these different resources, information. So don't get me wrong, like it was annoying because like sometimes she would just like just throw it in my face, you know what I mean, here and there. And like when you're struggling, it's not nice to like get
It's painful. Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah,
especially when it's like a parent. Because,
exactly.
They're the ones you want the support from, and in a way, they're the ones you're doing it for in some sense.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You want to give back. You want to be able to provide. You want to be able to increase the quality of life, not just for yourself, but your entire circle.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So then it's painful when they're like, well, I don't know what they're saying, but like, what, you dropped out or whatever.
Yeah, like she would just keep bringing it up. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, you should have stayed in school. But yeah, man, like at the end of the day, like I already knew, like it's just, for me personally, I just knew it was gonna be a matter of when, not if. And again, like you said, like you mentioned it before, I knew if it wasn't gonna be in trading, bro, I would have figured it out in the e-commerce or real estate or something. You know what I mean? Like e-commerce would have been the second thing that I probably would have went after. E-commerce or marketing, I don't know. But yeah, but like I knew I was gonna do something online because I'm like, dude, the opportunities online, especially when you can kind of like work from different places anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And just make a multiple more compared to like working at a corporate job. Like even someone like I have friends who worked on Wall Street who make like 170K to 200K for the year, which is really good. You know what I mean? Like 5-6 years working to get that type of pay. But again, bro, like they're working like 60, 80-hour weeks. I see them leaving the office, taking a taxi at 7 p.m. You know what I mean? And they're in the office like, like bright and early, 6, 7 a.m. I'm like, dude, it's not just about the money, but it's like if I can make that type of multiple plus more, because again, online
uncapped,
exactly. Online's uncapped, but with the salary, with a job, yeah, you can increase your pay, but at the same time, there is a ceiling.
There's a ceiling. You get taxed, and then a lot of people like to use the word slave. You're a slave to the system or whatever it may be. I think that's just like the new
cool thing to say.
Yeah, cool thing to say and stuff. But like, it's not really slave, but you're told what to do. You don't have freedom of choice. Let's say, for example, you're ill. You have to call in and make sure that your boss says, it's okay. Okay, you've still got sick days. What if you're out of sick days?
Yeah, you're screwed.
Especially over here in the US, because obviously you haven't got free healthcare either. So there's all these other stresses involved. While online money, such as e-com, such as marketing, such whatever it may be, copywriting, online money, they refer to it as printing cash. And I understand now. I kept hearing it. I kept thinking, that's, I can imagine people getting pissed off by hearing that, but it's the truth though.
It is, yeah.
I did a reel and it went crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
the million views.
did a million views,
yeah.
bro. But like this has way more value. What me and you've been talking about, right? And I've done so many. I've done book reels, all sorts. Nowhere near came in it. But only reason that reel went off was because I said the Forex lifestyle is easy, right? And then I said, once you have the skill set, the Forex lifestyle is easy. Meaning, people ignore that bit. They'll just hear Forex lifestyle is easy, and then it's triggering their limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's making them go, oh, it's not easy though. I tried it. I lost money. You're lying. But it's like, but you're not listening, right? If I had the time in a reel to explain for 10 minutes all the intricacies of trading and say, it might take you 4 years to learn to trade. You might in that time lose X amount. Of course, you need to risk manage. If I had the time to do all of that, I would, and I've done that many times. But it just goes to show people they can't see past what's in front of them. They just look at the surface. And with trading, I think in comparison to say e-commerce, for example, and even maybe marketing, is that trading is literal freedom in the sense that everything's on you.
100%.
Right? It's all you, not, with e-commerce, like your product, your supplier, stuff, other things are factors outside of yourself. Same with marketing. You have to find the clients, etc. Well, with trading, it's all you, right?
100%.
But to get to that point where you can print that cash, it's not easy. It's not. But at the end of the day, if someone said to you, you 5 years, you purely dedicate yourself. So not just 5 years you'll be successful, but in that 5 years, every single day, you're dedicating yourself to this goal, and you'll achieve it in 5 years. And you might have to pay, let's say, 10,000 a year, like a university, like 10,000 a year you have to pay. So 50,000 cost for 5 years time. But at the end of it, you'll be able to print out as much cash as you want, no limitations, wherever you want in the world, time-wise, day-wise, pure freedom. I think every single person on earth almost would say,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
And it's the truth though, because that is and I know a lot of people say, but you need big capital, but that's where prop firms come in. So where in your journey did you sort of start to transition to prop firms? Did you already have that consistency, or was it after sort of finding that confidence, that consistency, then you were like, okay, or you came across prop firms and were like, okay, now I'll do these instead?
No, honestly, I think it was a byproduct of a little bit of luck, the timeline, because, bro, I was already profitable when I started going the prop firm route this year. Like I did last year, but like with funding talent towards the end of last year, just to give it a shot. So obviously, like and the thing is with funding talent, right? Like for people who don't know, like, they went under. The problem with funding talent, well, the reason why I was more intrigued with them versus like FTMO and others was because they had that 0 trading day rules. With FTMO, it's 10 days. I'm like, all right, dude, if I finish the challenge in 5 days and then phase 2 in 5 days, I still have to wait a whole month. But with funding talent, and we'll talk about how I approach challenges, like, later on.
Yeah.
But like, it's very similar to how I approach them now, where it's just like, I just want to finish the challenge. So I put on a little bit higher risk on A+ setups, and then, kind of just try to make that transition straight into a live account. And I got funded within a week with funding talent, was doing well. And then I just got caught. And like when they went under, I did give them my refund at the very least.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, but that was like, turned me off. Then
that's what happened to me.
Yeah, unfortunate.
I passed 100K, right? I did the challenge and verification in the same day.
Yeah.
How, right? They were just on it that day, because sometimes they're slow in replying, right? They were just on it that day. I got the challenge, then they sent me the verification straight after, and I passed it, and I was like, whoa, I got funded like that.
Exactly.
And then I think it took me another month to do the additional 200K, because I think their max was 300K at the time. As soon as I got the max funding, 3 days later, we're a gaming company. Yeah, we're a gaming company. We're not a trading company. I was like, what are you talking about? So I managed to get my refund, and then like a very small, I think they changed the profit split to like 20% or something like that. It was crazy. It was so painful, honestly.
Yeah, 25% of every $5,000 or something like that.
Exactly. And the thing is like, that's a perfect lesson, It's annoying, of course, and it was very frustrating, but it's a perfect lesson as to why the personal account route is always the best route, because it's pure, like, same as why we got into trading, freedom, right? If we only rely on prop firms and if that's our only focus, then we don't have the freedom, because that can happen anytime. FTMO could close down whenever they want.
Exactly.
They can change the rules whenever they want. Will they? Probably not. Hopefully not.
Yeah. Right.
But we've seen an example of it happening. So I can imagine. But then did you sort of have a little break after that? Because you're probably
Yeah, no,
hurt a little
no.
bit.
Yeah, man, like 100%. Like that was kind of like that turned me off
Mm.
because I was already skeptical to prop firms, and it's funny because I remember I had messages with my friend, right? He was like, "Oh, bro, we should get onto this prop firm wave." I'm like, "Bro, they're making money off of like other people losing challenges,
Mm.
so like their business model is a conflict of interest, so they might not pay out, it might be a waste of my time." So I was like, "Dude, I was 100." But again, I like to stay open minded, so I was 100% against it.
Yeah.
Especially after that, that was just kind of confirmed everything I was saying.
Yeah.
And then the following year, right? So like that was just last year.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I was already like profitable. So that's why I was it was a byproduct of luck, as I was saying earlier, because most people I think now, because prop firms are so widely available, that if they're just getting into trading and they're still not finding consistency,
Yeah.
they think that okay, if I get access to a funded account, that consistency will come.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just timing where I was already consistent, I was already building on the foundation I had,
Mm-hmm.
and then prop firms became popular.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then I started again the beginning of the year, and you guys can go like to my Instagram. Like I remember in January, I was like, all right, new year, let me go ahead. And BTC had like really good opportunities on the higher time frame.
Mm.
So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for like an account flip. Because that was majority of how I was trading last year as well, before the prop firms.
Yeah.
Was just like, I'll pull a couple $1,000, slow risk. And then as the account builds, take a little bit higher risk,
Mm.
withdraw my capital, push a little bit, keep withdrawing until the account blows, because it's gonna eventually blow when you're trading high,
Of course, yeah.
when you're going for like that flip account mentality. But you can do like some really good numbers.
Mm.
So in the beginning of the year, I took a $12,000 account to 42K, so 30,000, biggest month I had this year, in terms of profit.
Yeah.
So $30,000. I'm like, all right, I have a cushion. And it also in December of 2021, I had a really big BTC trade. I don't know if I have that on my Instagram, but it was like $17,000. So I ended up December pretty much, even though it was like a slower month because of like the volatility,
Mm.
I still ended up like 20,000 on December. So I'm like, all right, dude, I just like pretty much like have 50K kind of locked in. Let me give FTMO a shot. They're the number one, like in terms
Yeah.
of credibility. They've been like the long standing one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I don't want that funding talent stuff to happen again. Let me just choose a company that actually has some sort of credibility.
Mm.
And yeah, that was in February, I believe, mid-February, sometime around February,
Mm.
where I took the challenges, passed, and then dude, when I was getting payouts from FTMO, that's when it kind of realized to me like, yo, this is way less stressful. When I was going for those account flips, like I was up late,
Yeah.
especially with BTC, because there's no real kill zones. It's kind of just
It never stops either.
yeah, and when BTC is volatile, man, like it could move like really at any random time of the day.
Mm.
With Forex, it's a little bit more scheduled. Like, okay, I just
Yeah.
wake up for
Got the
London.
sessions.
Exactly. But with BTC, it's a whole different beast, man. And then because I was looking for the higher time frame, I had to hold trades. So I was losing sleep. I was just stressed out. And I was like, you know what? That was really the big fact of going into like the funded route. And then ever since then, man, I've been a really big advocate for it because I just feel way less stressed when I trade my own money. And the guy Elliot that you had on your podcast
Yeah.
on the episode before, he alluded to it, which was like really perfect. Where it's like when you're trading your own money versus when you're trading with prop firm,
Yeah.
you don't have that same observance of risk when it comes to your emotions. Because yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, people are still gonna be emotional when trading a funded account, like when it's actually live,
Of course, yeah.
because there's still something on the line. The account is on the line.
Mm.
But it's not the same emotion when you're actually trading your own money and you're losing. Like that same $1,000 loss that you lose on a funded account, right? It's not the same $1,000 loss on your own
That's
real
true,
money,
yeah.
because it hits more because it's your own capital.
Yeah.
You lose $1,000 on a funded account, like, all right, damn, I'm just 1% less on the account.
Mm.
And then it just hits different. And it's very true. So people also have to be very weary of that, right? Because if you're someone who's only just trading prop, you might get and if something happens to them, I don't think anything will, but you never know, right? Like maybe some new law comes out, or maybe these companies
Yeah,
go
that's
under.
something, yeah. That's
Very, very possible. Make sure that you guys are also like having money saved up and actually like trading your own live account,
Mhm.
maybe for swing trades, maybe for big picture plays.
Yeah, well,
Or-
no, 100% I agree,
Yeah.
because like you have to treat different accounts differently, you know? So like you might have a small account personal that you might just swing on, because then though it might still be smaller money, it's still larger money in comparison when you swing it. Or you might have a flip account, small flip account, so you're very aggressive.
Yeah,
Then you might have a prop firm account where you're way less aggressive, but the returns are a lot higher and you're not having to risk your own capital. you know?
100%. Yeah,
And then you might have an investor account. There's so many different things, and of course you don't want to go overboard.
yeah,
And
yeah.
trying to change your mindset for this account to that account is
Exactly.
difficult too.
Yeah.
There's always going to be variables. There's always going to be struggles as a trader, even when you're consistent. This is what people don't realize. Like a lot of people think consistency looks like everything's perfect. You just wake up and you just like,
That's
that's it done.
biggest
You know?
misconception, man. Biggest
But it's like
misconception.
it's always adapting. always adapting. There's always going to be cycles, to the market. Sometimes like crypto will just go completely dead for 2-3 weeks, just completely sideways, and you can't do nothing. You might even be in a trade and you just sat there waiting, And then even with the FX markets like EU, everyone knows it's quite a stable pair. Suddenly, like not these last 2 weeks, but the 2 weeks before that, volatile as hell, super big moves, like 300-400 pips in a week. And we don't see that. And as a consistent trader, you're maybe in those weeks, your setup doesn't present itself, right? So the struggle then is that are you going to be good enough to sit there and wait? Do you have a different style that you can deploy at that time?
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't. They just have. So me, I'm quite stringent in terms of like I have one way, right? And I'm happy to wait.
Yeah.
But that's because I know myself that if I try to always adapt to the market, which some people can, and they're amazing because it means that they can stay in the game.
Yeah.
But for me, when I try to do that, that's when I end up finding a way to shift. I've seen that in my journey. I'll end up shifting and end up losing when if I just stick to one way, even if it's painful in waiting, it pays off, And I'm happy to do that then. I'm paid to wait, essentially. While if someone has that mind where they can be more fluid, be more adaptive to the market in that way, it's amazing. Because like I could only trade one pair right now.
Yeah.
I've been trading one EU or just one pair for about 2 years, right? And I keep trying to look at another pair, like whatever it is, like gold or anything. I keep trying to look and add another pair, and I just can't. Every time I try, I'm just like, I can't see this. I can't see this clearly. This is too volatile. This is a different beast. Just stick to EU. That's me personally.
Yeah.
But then I know people like yourself, like you trade, multiple. You trade crypto as well.
Yeah.
So how do you like manage that? How do you manage? Is there certain rules you have in place, different routines for the two, or is it just more you're able to be fluid and sort of adapt?
No, I do have a rule specifically. So I pretty much like I've tried indices, man, but indices just like, in my opinion, right? I just think indices has way too much like whipsaw action. Like sometimes, with indices, the difficult part about it is like, dude, they'll run lows and highs and then make the move, and they'll run them like multiple times. So it's very, very difficult to catch a move. If someone who's kind of like either intraday trading or scalping, then and they're in and out real quick, yeah, it makes sense. But I don't know. For me, I like to like look for a little bit big picture types of moves. So the way I kind of manage it is I only trade the EU for majority of the times. I'll watch USD CAD every now and then, but it's primarily just EU. Every morning, dude, just check it. I already have my chart set up, and I'm just looking on every time frame, daily, 4 hour. Do I see a big picture, higher time frame play? If not, then I go to the 1 hour, and the 1 hour becomes my framework, right? And then I start to like look for entries on M5, M15 if one presents itself. So EU is just like the main thing day in, day out, right? But then I'll watch like BTC, and I like my rules for BTC are like much different than FX. With BTC, I only trade. I don't go below the 1 hour.
Nice.
So, and again, that works for me because I notice with BTC, like you said, dude, it can consolidate for literally 2 weeks. So if I see that on a 1 hour time frame, on a 4 hour time frame, you'll see the consolidation.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm not gonna get chopped up. On an M15, you might see a breakout. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get on the retest, and then it just makes a new low, and then you're getting chopped up. And then when you zoom out at the end of the day, you're like, dude, what was I doing? I got chopped up in this little 1 hour range.
Yeah.
So for me, BTC, I'm only trading it on the daily time frame, 4 hour and 1 hour, and the weekly. So I'll usually
higher time.
So if I don't see a higher time frame play on BTC, I just put it to the side, and it's easier that way because on a daily time frame, bro, like even if I get like maybe 2-3 trades out of like a month on BTC, but they're bigger plays, so I'm holding for a little bit longer, and it was a little bit more difficult for me to hold on BTC. Especially with like some of the prop firms because some of them have restricted hours that you could trade crypto on the weekends, and some of them actually close on the weekends. So like obviously I don't want to take that overnight risk. But like true Forex ones, like they actually have like, I mean, their swaps are pretty insane, like going into the weekend. But like sometimes if I'm in a position and the position's kind of like near the entry, I'll just close before the swap hits, and then get back in. But yeah, man, I only trade on H1, H4, and then look for daily, weekly plays and use H4, H1 as like the entry trigger. And I don't go below that because again, I don't want to try and time it on an M5, M15 on Bitcoin.
Yeah, and then it becomes hard because then you're doing that same, essentially then you're doing the same sort of scalping or lower time frame nature, which requires attention.
Yeah.
Both on EU and BTC.
Exactly.
Like I said, there are traders out there, no doubt, who can do that. They can have, say, 3 or 4 different charts open and they can track them all.
Very difficult,
right?
yeah.
And I think it's probably a rarity of people who can do that, versus, because there will be those who can do it, but they will miss opportunities a lot of the time. Or they'll have the issue where they took one, there were 2 setups, they saw one, that one lost. The one they didn't see won.
Yeah.
Then you have to battle that psychology.
Oh my God.
You know? And some people will be good at that, while a lot of people will struggle with that, you know?
Bro, that's so true. And it's funny. It's like you were hearing my conversation with like a friend that I had today, because we were literally just talking about that. Because we were like, because she was like struggling. EU, she didn't really see anything today, but then she'll look at AUD/USD and she's like, "Wow, this setup on the 4 hour was like perfect." I'm like, "Yeah," but I literally told them like, "Listen, the same feeling that you have now, if you start to like go over and start looking at AU next time, you're gonna miss the trade on EU, and then you're gonna have this psychological battle. Like you could look at other pairs after the fact to journal to maybe just like oh, okay, this is perfect to build up the repetition of seeing your setup, right?
Yeah.
But like, don't like if you can't handle the bandwidth of looking at every different time frame, because if you're intraday trading, right, bro, I know for me specifically, I'm looking at H4 daily, H1, M30, M15, M5. I can't do that with multiple pairs. It's just gonna be, I'm gonna feel like I'm all over the place.
Just scattered, yeah. No
Yeah.
focus, yeah.
So then it's just, I told her like, listen, just remember this. Next time you're like, damn, well, AU had a perfect setup or GU had a perfect setup. Okay, that's nice. But then next time EU's gonna have a perfect setup, but then you're gonna focus on GU or AU, and then you're gonna miss the one on EU. If you have a decent amount of trading strategies and like in your toolbox, dude, you're gonna get 2 to 3 high quality trades a week if you're looking for M5, M15 entries. You know, at the very minimum. Like, yeah, some weeks are obviously gonna be slower. Maybe you only get 1 to 2 really good opportunities. But if you're someone who's intraday trading and you have like a decent like amount of like trade setups in your toolbox, you'll have that 1 or 2 good trades. Like, I'm confident in saying 1 to 2 at the very least you're gonna have per week, no matter what your system or style.
Per week,
is.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, per week. And again, the like you said, the painful part is the waiting, because like you're on Twitter and you're seeing all these other people who are posting like all these gains. And I just want to say this one thing about social media, because that was the same thing I was telling my friend. Listen, most people are gonna, even like regardless whether it's me or someone else, if someone triggers you, bro, in terms of like they have a negative effect on your psychology, because maybe you think that they're boasting, or like someone's flashing all this like cars, like like a lot of like traders do, and it's affecting your psychology, dude, just mute them. Right? Like you can still follow, like you could even block them. Who cares? Like at the end of the day, it's your psychology that's getting ruined.
Exactly, yeah.
And like, dude, most people are not going to show you the full picture, right? Like even and I'll just be honest, like even sometimes if I'm showing a withdrawal and stuff like that, you don't see maybe the one challenge account that I just blew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it does happen. You know what I mean? Like I might have a $5,000 payout, but then I just blew 2 100K accounts, so I just lost $1,000 in that sense. You know what I mean? And within those 2 weeks.
Reward, yeah.
Exactly. It's at the end of the day, as long it's like a business, right? As long as like my business, as long as the profits kind of overcome the expenses, you know what I mean? That's all that matters. But like that's the problem. People try and nitpick everything on social media, where they're like, oh yeah, well, this person's doing so well.
Yeah.
Like that person may be doing well, but they're also may not be showing you everything that's negative as well. So that's why it's important not to kind of, dude, don't base your own trading or your decision making based off of someone who's just posting a snippet of their own trading. Bro, you know what it is? You'll have people who literally will be down on the day. They'll take 3 trades. They'll post the winning one, post all this like beautiful analysis, but they're down on the day.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, but that's really what people are doing out there. And people are like, wow, that guy or that girl's killing it. But like, bro, they just posted the one winning trade they had for the day and they're down on the day.
100%.
That's why you have to take everything with like, a little bit of a grain of salt of what you see on social media. Even myself, like I don't exclude myself from that whole picture as well.
We're all guilty of it, and I think it's our job to, as you say, be aware of it. And I feel like a lot of people, and I've seen this happen a lot as well with students, is that they feel a need to post, even if they're not profitable.
100%.
They feel a need to do a trade recap or make a case study, and it's just like, why? Like focus on the skill set, I understand the people who have done the skill set, they've mastered the skill set, they're professional, they're consistent, even though, like I said, even the consistent traders will have their struggles, will have their moments. That doesn't end. That's the whole point, is that we're going to always have to adapt and continuously build and work on our mental strength. But those people can do that because they can afford to do that. They've already done the stage of going through it. Like, I never posted a single chart or posted anything to do with trading, other than maybe me posting like, I'm grinding, I'm learning. Other than that, I never posted a single thing in terms of education or trying to put value out there or anything until I got the consistency first, right?
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, everyone wants to, they're not even trying to teach, but they feel a need to post content.
100%.
When, as we know, content takes a lot of time to plan and put together and edit, etc. So essentially all that time that could be put onto something that needs your time needs your attention, right? And needs your opinion, not someone else's, as you say. It's just a frame in the mindset, you know? And you're so right though. Like I always say to people, if even people in communities, sometimes in communities, people go, oh, I see other people's trades and it throws me off.
Yeah.
And I tell them, look, just leave the community. If
100%.
it's harming your journey, leave it, mute it, block it, whatever. Because at the end of the day, it's about you.
100%.
It's always about you. And if anyone can get to you or influence your mindset or make you feel any kind of way, the reality is you got to work on that, because you shouldn't allow that to happen anyway. But if the easy route is just to cancel it first, get rid of it first,
because you control what you post. I mean, you control what you see on social media.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. I think a lot of people don't spend the time to realize you can mute people so you don't see them. I actually learned that from what's his name, Swaggy.
Yeah,
I didn't realize you could literally mute all these accounts so that you still follow them, but they just never turn up. I was like, wow, there's a little hack,
Yeah.
But it's incredible, like social media. It's amazing because obviously we talk about the negatives a lot, but the positives are like people like me and you can sit down, we can talk online, then we can meet in person, we can do something like this, and the network is incredible, because you can go, you can come to UK, for example, you have a bunch of people already that you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can go to Canada, you can go over probably to Asia, to Africa, anywhere basically in the world, and it's such a beautiful thing. And then being able to, especially because you put content out, you're able to then reach people who you don't even know them, right? Randomly in a year's time, you get a message saying, Omar, thanks to your video, or your videos that you put out, I'm now a full-time trader, and then it's like, it's just incredible. You never even spoke to the person one-to-one. They literally just watched your videos.
Yeah.
And were able to change their life, And that's what kind of touches on one of the questions we got on Twitter, which was like, if you're a consistent trader, why would you teach? Why would you create an academy? Right? And I will say my sort of answer, which is main one for me is just legacy, right? Like, yeah, cool, I'm a great trader. Great, yeah, cool, I make money for me and my family and I can invest and I can build my wealth. Fantastic. But other than that, it doesn't do anything for me. Like it doesn't change the way I feel about the world, or it doesn't change me as an individual. It just allows me to live more stress-free, essentially, more freedom, more peace of mind. But in terms of my impact on the world, it doesn't really do anything. So then for me, the teaching side is the legacy. It's being able to, as I just said, you can teach someone the same skill set you have and allow them to have that freedom. Allow them to have that same level of peace, and not just for them, but for their family. And it's incredible. And you can't match it. And then the classic, just another source of income. Because the thing with trading is, even when you do it consistently, there's no guarantee of income, right? 1 month you might have there might be 0 trades for whatever reason. So you made nothing. So if you have no other income coming in whatsoever, hopefully you got cash cushions and all that.
Yeah.
So you got savings, because that's what's necessary. But if you don't, what are you going to do? But if you have another source of income, it takes the edge off. Yeah? Anything that can create peace of mind to me in trading it's a benefit. It's what's needed. But what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, man. Listen, people are like, so I have a theory that a lot of people who kind of say this, right? They come from like they come from a very limited mindset, because at the end of the day, the reality is this, right? If people are willing to pay you for your expertise, your experiences that you had to kind of endure, all the different courses. That was one thing that I never shortchanged, was education. Dude, I paid for ICT's full thing, like the full 12 months. I paid a lot for Tom Dante's. I'm not sure if you're.
I've heard his name, yeah.
Yeah, Tom Dante's content. I paid WWA. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. You know what I mean? I even paid. I remember I did about 2 months in Phantom. You know what I mean? Around the same time with WWA, just to kind of refine structure, because that's like a big part of my trading today.
Yep.
Dude, I never shortchanged. And the craziest part is, right? I know people are gonna get offended by this, but dude, everyone I paid, not a single person ever showed me any results. Right? Tom Dante though, he was the exception, because he used to work from Futex, which was also it was like a reputable firm in the UK, and they had one of the biggest traders called Navinder Singh, who got arrested. Yeah, it was it's a big thing. But nonetheless, he was the one that had the most credibility in terms of some sort of results, even though I didn't see it directly. But it's if you work for a firm for multiple years, you must be making money, right? And he was trading with some of the dudes who were making $10-20 million a year, you know what I mean? So he has that credibility. But dude, no one, not even ICT, not even no one showed me any proof that they were profitable. But guess what? Because people vouched for them, I'm all right, I'm just gonna go ahead and pay. Worst case scenario, I'll lose out on my money, and I just keep searching. You know what I mean? So that's number one. Number two, dude, I do when I teach. First of all, I have so much time throughout the day that I can feel in terms of a void in terms of time. So I can help people first, number one, and then I can also get money and have an extra source of income. Dude, God forbid something happened to you, something happened to me, right? And you're not able to trade for 2 weeks, maybe because you're like sick, maybe because maybe something happened in your personal life
Exactly.
where mentally, like maybe you lost someone in your family. You know what I mean? Like life happens, dude. So like, and you're never going to be mentally 100% in terms of trading. So guess what? If I have an extra source of income, you know what I mean, teaching somebody and they're benefiting it from as well. And again, like within communities, you have a bunch of testimonials for people to back your product and service. So or else you wouldn't grow, right? So then that's why I personally do it, because first of all, I have a lot of free time. I can help people and I can make a decent sum of money from it. Like I'm not afraid to say that. So many people are like, this is the part that like I don't understand why some educators will be like, oh, I do it 100% to like help the world and change people's lives. Like, yeah, bro, you are. Like you might be doing that, but like, come on, like let's be honest. We're all here to make an extra source of income.
Oh yeah.
And mind you, this is another thing that people don't realize. Developing and building a brand is not easy. The same people that are talking all this smack, bro, and trust me, I got a lot of it from like, and mind you, this is the funniest thing. Anyone who's followed me like on Twitter from the beginning of the year till now and saw like the growth, all of it came was like from through free. I had a free Telegram, was posting trade ideas 24/7. I'm not that active in it now, because I like to, well, it's the end of the year and also I'm like chilling a little bit. I'm only trading like maybe a few days out the week, you know what I mean? Making my money and then kind of just like, you know, being a little bit more low key. But dude, I was like grinding every single day. I was putting out so much free stuff on Twitter. I was posting all these withdrawals, you know, 20,000. And again, it's all on the YouTube as well, with 20,000 with FTMO and then another 20,000 with FTMO, 16K from the funded trader in like, you know, a span of a couple weeks. And I'm showing like multiple payouts, multiple withdrawals, you know, I mean, have live trade videos on the account. And again, these are only small snippets of what I'm showing. I don't show everything, but I just do every now and then, again, just because I want to build up more credibility on the channel and stuff like that, and like on social media. So I'll post like, okay, yeah, just like in the last few weeks, you know, 5-figure payout and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And people, and I did all that, right? And then even when I was launching, dude, I don't know if you were there around
I
the
think it was
time.
after. Yeah. I think we came across each other after.
Okay, but dude, oh my God, the amount of like comments and negativity I got was insane. I'm like, bro, I want an extra source of income. If you don't want to join, then fine, don't join. It's fine with me. I'm good regardless. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. This is why. And again, going back to building a brand, like, dude, look, we got this nice studio and stuff like that. All this stuff costs money if you want to build a brand. You know what I mean? Especially if you want to do it correctly, right? Like when you got to pay editors, you got to pay for like photographers, videographers for content. You got to do all this stuff. So if I can ease my trading with an extra source of income, and then I can even use that extra source of income to further build the brand, why would I not do that? Why would I use my trading to pay for my living expenses, to pay for, you know, building my brand and content creation, to go live leisure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I want to go out to eat or I want to do this, why would I depend only on my trading? That is so backwards mindset, bro. It's just mind baffling how some people generally cannot see this. And I genuinely think that the people who say that, a lot of them, I think a lot of it comes also from jealousy, because they're seeing someone who's making money from trading, someone who's making money from this, and they can't even make one of them work. Listen, and you know what? For all those people that are talking bad, right? Go ahead, try to start your own academy, try to start your own course. Let's see how much money you guys are really gonna make. It's not as profitable as you guys think if you don't have results. Building a brand, I'm telling you right now, if you don't have a solid brand, or you don't I know there's scammers. Like, dude, there's gonna be scammers in every single industry.
Yeah.
There's been scammers from like the beginning of times, no matter what. Even probably back in like the Roman empires, you probably had scammers, con artists,
You had people
all
that
that.
sell, like, they call it snake oil.
Yeah.
Like this magic thing.
Yeah, that was the snake oil
Sort you out,
salesman, from the term.
So it's always, it's always been a thing. It's always
Yeah,
been a
so but now it's just because it's digital and people are getting exposed from it,
Yeah.
it's just like more like, more available for people to see. But that's my point. Like, you're gonna have scammers in every single industry. Yes, but even then, guess what? Those scammers still had to build up a brand, because I'm telling you right now, right? If you don't have a solid brand, you don't pay for like top tier content or like some sort of like marketing to get you to get known on social media or something like that, bro. It's very difficult to grow, and you're gonna come through a point where you're gonna have limited customer base. So that's one another thing that people don't understand. If you don't put in the time, just like you put in the time for trading, if you don't put the time into your brand and, in higher quality, like production, higher quality content, reaching out to more of a bigger audience, you're not going to make much money from courses either. That's people think that if you sell a course, you're going to be granted $1 million. Like, bro, it's not as easy as people think. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it. It's just
No,
mind
I
baffling when I
completely
get that
agree.
comment, man.
I completely agree. No, I completely agree with you because you're so right in saying the biggest thing you said there, I think, is that people don't realize that you don't make a shit ton of money. When you do it right, you're a
Yeah,
genuine person, you honestly don't make as much, especially for the time you put in. You know, so if let's say like per hour you make $50, right? That's what people can work out, right? And $50 is more than the average salary. Yeah, cool. But at the end of the day, as a trader, it's nothing like in comparison to our
in
trading
comparison,
fees, not
exactly.
really. But then most importantly, people just see the figure that's being charged. They don't think about the taxes. They don't think about like in the UK we have. Well, I think in the US you guys have a lot of taxes too. But in the
Yeah.
UK we have like 2 sets of taxes straight away, let alone then the additionals on top of that, the personal, everything. So by the end of it, 60-70% of what you charged is gone to the government,
Exactly.
you know, and then you have this small amount left that in reality isn't, you could say it's not really worth it, right? In one way, but you do it anyway because again, you're building something that's bigger than yourself even, you know. At the end of the day, imagine if you could, you could say, if I work on this brand for 5 years, same sort of analogy we used for the trading, work on this brand for 5 years. I don't really make too much money, but it steadily grows over the 5 years. But then I can sell that company for 2 million, right?
Mhm.
Who's gonna say no? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And the people who have the comments is exactly what I said earlier. It's always ghost accounts. It's always people who have never put any value out at all. They're too scared to even talk on camera, you know?
Exactly.
And as you said, it takes money. It costs money to hire a studio. You know?
Exactly.
It takes money to hire an editor. It takes money to buy equipment. You know, it takes time and effort to actually create content and try and not only create content, but you're actually trying to create valuable content.
Exactly.
You know,
It's not
And
just
that-
content. Exactly. Yeah.
And then anyone could break down a chart, but to try and break down a chart in a way that will actually connect with people, help people, you know, it's incredible. And like I said, even just off the free content, people are getting consistent. People are getting results just off free content. So if you're not happy to pay for something, great, but take the free content. It's right there, you know. But yeah, like you said, it's just a mentality thing. People's mentality is just so off because, yeah, I can understand if you don't agree with it. If that's your opinion, that's fine. Then don't make sure you don't start anything. And if you don't want to ever invest in your education, then don't buy anyone's course because that's what they're doing. You know, they're
Yeah.
selling the course too. So you can't. If you don't like it that much, why have you ever bought a course? You know, you don't agree with
It's
it.
it's the, bro. It's the hypocrisy that people have. I'm telling you. I honestly believe that most people who do say that it really does come from like a genuine place of jealousy that they couldn't make it work. Listen, guys, you know what? Or even for those, listen again. I'm gonna say it again. For those people that think it's like so easy and you're gonna make so much money selling courses and stuff like that, sell a course and let's see how it goes for you. Most people that are talking all that stuff, bro, I guarantee you they won't make much money from a course any to begin with. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And it's just mind baffling, man. It really
They'll get
does.
stuck on making a logo.
Yeah,
They'll get stuck
exactly.
on that.
And you know what it is? I guarantee you this too. Most people would be so cheap that when it comes to their creating like their brand, they wouldn't be paying for all this. That's why I commend you, bro. Like you came all the way to New York City like on holiday, but still, even then, still took the time out of your day to get a studio to do this interview and stuff like that because you realize like, yo, I want to put some time. And you didn't like, it's not like, oh yeah, let's just go to this random place. Like this is a nice studio and you actually put time and like to research the area. You know what I mean? Also like, put like, your money where your mouth is at the end of the day, really. And then kind of got the studio and all this stuff. So like I commend you because, and I see your content on Instagram, on YouTube, bro, everything is high quality production. Even the interviews you have in the UK, like it's high quality. Every single, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
And
appreciate it.
and that's commendable because most people when it comes to doing that, dude, they always I've men work with some people who are very frugal, man. And like most people don't want to put like when it's only even if it's a few $100, they wouldn't even want to put it to their brand. And these are the same people that are in the comment section saying, "Oh yeah," like they don't understand what it takes to even build a brand to begin with, man.
Yeah.
And mind you, this is just the beginning for us. I really feel like in the next, God willing, 5-10 years, it's gonna skyrocket even more. You know what I mean? As we continue with the production.
That's what people don't understand as well, is that they think that the idea is to sell courses for the rest of your life. It's a limited thing. It's like for me, next year or two probably, and then I'll stop. Because the whole point is you're building something that is outside of trading.
100%.
Because you're going to trade. The whole purpose is that
100%.
you trade, right? But you're building something that you can then maneuver into anything else. Anything you want. It could be apparel. It could be
Bro, 100%,
podcast. It could be
100%.
a physical location. Look at Mr. Beast, right? Perfect example. Look at what he does. He sells chocolate.
Yeah,
he has
the
a food
chocolate
drive,
bar. Yeah,
He has
the burger spot.
yeah, the burgers. He probably has so much more. He has a huge studio. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He
now
has
he has
like
production.
2 warehouses.
Yeah.
So it's a limited mindset again. It's like you don't understand the vision.
Exactly.
You just assume, you're making assumptions. And to be fair to you, it happens not just in this, it happens all the time in life.
Of course, yeah.
People who, it's like when you meet someone and you say, what do you do? I trade Forex. You don't make money from that, you know what I mean?
Bro,
like they're just assuming straight away from the title or from their knowledge or perception of the industry. But it is what it is. It's always going to be the case. But I appreciate you saying that, because you'll get to see, I did a podcast episode, it was a while ago now, but I've done one. It's going to come out, I think, maybe going into January with my editor, the guy who edits all the stuff, So thanks to him, I get the high quality thing. But as you say, you have to pay him to do it.
Exactly.
It's not free. Easy to find people who can work, efficiently, people who have high quality edits, I bet you get messages a lot as well from random people like, I'll edit your videos.
It took me a while I finally found like a good editor, but like it took me a while to find one, bro, because people like, first of all, if you're looking on Fiverr, I think that's like a really bad way. If you really want high quality, I mean, it's a good way to start, but I don't think you're going to find a good editor on Fiverr, because I was going through every high rated top seller and it just wasn't the quality that I wanted, bro. And yeah, I finally found one. So like, you're right, it's not easy to find someone who's efficient too. Like, thank God, like the editor, I'll send him a video I'll record for like a long form content on YouTube. He'll have it to me in 3 to 4 days, very well edited. Like everything is like up to par. And people don't realize this too. Like, again, this is for people who are more interested in like developing a brand. Dude, don't be cheap on your editor, because it's crazy. If I show people like, because I have a few videos that are coming out now. If I show people like the video I sent him and the final production, it's honestly insane how different it looks in terms of like, appeal and like, being able to like stay entertained throughout the content. Because again, like nowadays people we have like more of a, what's the word called? Like when
lower attention.
Yeah, we have a lower attention span. So having something that's engaging and stuff like that is very, very important. But again, that's for people who are like, who are kind of interested
even
in
with
that.
like interest building a brand, it can be any brand. It doesn't have to be a trade.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's more general information. Yeah.
Same process. And as you say, skimping on an editor or a designer, it's like the worst thing you can do. Now you have two options, I think, is either you have to pay out yourself to begin with, or you make an agreement with that person that it's the longer term vision, And it's hard to be able to portray that vision. And that's the thing, like with content creation, whether it's a reel, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a usual educational YouTube video, even a Telegram group, right? It creates creativity. You need creativity and a vision, and it can be difficult sometimes and stressful to actually implement that creativity,
Yeah.
And to take what's in your mind and put it on screen or portray it how you see it in your mind. It's very difficult.
Exactly.
And to be able to relate that to an editor, for them to be able to then take your vision, is a very difficult process, but it's an enjoyable. That's one thing I love about having a brand, right? If people want to know as well, forget the income side, right? Another reason I love it is just being able to do that part, taking something that you thought of, a storyboard or an idea, and be able to then create it. So like we did a video series called Keeping Up with the Vipers, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians with the trading version. And we went to Dubai, right? So like those set of videos, that was something that I planned beforehand. Like I had a certain vision of, like there was a lot of drama that went on that you can't plan for, but it just helps. It aids the video.
Yeah,
it's like entertaining.
People love drama.
Exactly, but it's like the whole video in terms of the title, the name of it, how it would be, episodes, where it should start and end, the sort of things I want to see in there, the imagery, etc. To then have it in your mind and then to then be able to have an editor put it together and you put it out there, that process alone is so rewarding and I don't know what the word would be for it, but it's just so fulfilling.
Yeah.
It's so fulfilling doing just that process. Because it's like trading, planning a trade, so doing the analysis and then executing on it and then getting the result. It's the same sort of feeling in that way, where you plan something and it played out beautifully. Sometimes not exact, but still played out to your image. And maybe that's where some traders struggle, because when they do that process and it works out once, the second time it works out, and then the third time they get a loss. It's the same process. That's where I think a lot of traders may even struggle, because they're wondering, that doesn't make sense. And that's where our minds, in other conventional business, building brands or businesses, normally we do the same thing, the same result will take place. While we trade, that's why trading is so different in that sense. It's that self-mastery and understanding the actual the markets themselves. Like you can't just take the same exact setup 10 times, and 10 out of 10 times gives you the same exact result.
Yeah.
It's a difficult thing. But in terms of your trading journey then, so we got to the prop firms, right? And by now, obviously, you've been using prop firms quite a lot. And you've actually, something interesting you touched on, which was that you had certain prop firms have certain rules.
Yeah.
Right. So then with those rules, you then had to find a prop firm that would allow you or be more beneficial for you to trade crypto, for example.
Yeah.
So is that something that you did purposely then? Is that sort of shopped around, compared until you found, okay, this one fits for this narrative, this one fits for this one, or strategy, should I say?
Yeah. So that's the thing. I think a lot of people, before they like purchase a specific funded account, right? Like make sure you guys go through the FAQ section of every single platform. Like, or watch YouTube videos on like people, because there's so many of them, so many review videos on YouTube that people can kind of go through and get a true understanding of the rule sets. Because, dude, and again, I'm guilty of this too. Like sometimes we miss a rule, and then when we blow the account, we're like, oh, the prop firm's a scam, blah blah. It's like, dude, no, you just didn't do your due diligence. They had a rule set in place, and you just didn't abide by it. It's not up to them to kind of give you a free retry. Like I remember with the funded account with True Forex funds, I had 3 of them, right? 3 100K accounts, and I blew one of them because I didn't know about that drawdown rule. I was up like on a trade on BTC.
Oh, was it one of them?
Yeah, I was up like going into rollover like $1,500 to $2,000, and I'm holding the trade, right? And then it went back on me, and I ended up being down 3,500 plus on the day, 3,700, and then they calculated it from the top of the equity, well, the balance, yeah. So the top of the balance. So then then I lost the account, but I'm not gonna go ahead and blame True Forex Fund, then go on Twitter and shame them. Like, bro, that was my fault.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna ask them, oh, can I get the account back? Like, dude, I should have done a better job at that. And people don't want to take accountability when it comes to like messing up on that type of stuff.
It's true, because it's the same with like anything that you do in life. You need to do the research. People rush. They just rush too often. They have this false idea in their mind, especially like with prop firms, is that it's easy in terms of easy access to capital. And there's truth to that, because in comparison to back in the day, of course, it's much easier to be able to trade with the power of 6 figures than it was to build a track record or save to get 6 figures.
Exactly.
You know? So there's truth to it, but the other side of it, it's not easy. It still requires the discipline. The way that prop firms are set up is they need those they need the consistency, the discipline, because at the end of the day, you have that drawdown limits.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So like they're very open. Don't get me wrong, they have certain things that are in their terms and conditions.
Yeah.
I think MFF maybe like you have to start the account within 60 days. It's not really out there on the website, but that's fine. The thing is, you can always use the live chats. Sometimes I get people who ask me questions like, am I allowed to do this?
Crazy,
with news or something.
Yeah.
And I'm always just like, look, I don't know. Like, I know what I've been doing, but it's always best to just go use the live chat. It's right there, and they're very active. The FTMO is like super active.
Yeah.
Their live chat is so easy to use. Emails as well, very easy to
definitely
communicate with them. And that's like a test as well, before you join to a prop firm, ask them some questions, see how long it takes to get a response. Because if it's slow, think about your payout.
Yeah.
Think about any other issue. And think about getting your new account details, whatever it may be. One thing I will touch on actually is, what you mentioned earlier about the trading days. One thing I don't hear a lot of people talk about. So like with FTMO, they've still got their 10 trading days, right? Probably I think the highest out of everyone. A lot of others. 5, 1,
10.
2,
Yeah, it's 10.
What's interesting is now there's not really a reason why. It's just the reason why I think they do it is it creates a break. Do you know what I mean? As in like you're forced, then you might pass it in 1-2 days, then you're forced not to trade.
I know.
So it takes you out of sync. And then you get the next account, and then the same thing happens. You're out of sync again. So you might be you might have traded 20 days, but out of those 20 days, you only traded 2.
Yeah.
So then when it comes to the live account or the verification, let's say, you're out of sync, and therefore you probably rush, and you're not really in sync with the market, and then kind of leads you to losing. So it's kind of like, I don't like to say it's malicious. Like
but they do it on purpose. Not just FTMO, but bro, it's just some of the rules are structured in a way where they kind of like, it's against your psychology. Like especially that 10-day trading. Like it's funny because I thought they would budge a little bit because everywhere else in the industry, they're reducing it, and I don't know, maybe they're not losing any business like that at all. So they're like, you know what, why even do it? Because it's also smart from their perspective, because you won't get a live account with them for 20 days. So in that 20 days they could rack, even though like you might rinse them and like make a shit ton of money during like that span that you're actually like trading live. Guess what? In those 20 days, you know what I mean? You're not getting funded. And if you blow your account, now you have to redo it, and then you're not going to be funded for another 20 days. Assuming you pass within the 10 days. And then on top of that, they're collecting more money from everyone in that meantime. So I think that's why, in terms of the business model, it works well for them. But yeah, man, listen, at the end of the day, no one's forced to do a prop challenge. It's like up to the individual whether they want to go that route. And again, now that there's so much more competition, you don't have to go with FTMO, even though I think FTMO is like the number one in terms of
I
like,
think so, yeah.
yeah, in terms of like everything and like credibility, right? But dude, there's really good ones that only have 3 minimum trading days, like the Funded Trader. True Forex Funds had 0 trading days. EA only has, I think, 1 trading day.
Yeah.
So it's like you can, there's so many more options now that you don't have to stick with FTMO. But if you want something a little bit more that's time tested over the years, then obviously FTMO is like that one.
Definitely. No, I agree. I always say as well that FTMO is the king.
Yeah.
It's always the king. If people say to me, which one should I go for? I always still to this day say FTMO.
FTMO, yeah.
I say there are now ones that have come along that have formed credibility.
Yeah.
But if in terms of like being someone who people want advice from, you always want to be safe, you know?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I feel confident in saying FTMO.
100%.
I know a lot of people were pissed off about the Christmas calendar thing. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah,
I thought it was funny. You know, what did they? The funny thing is, they did one. They did. I think it was yesterday's, the day before, where it was like you can skip the 10 trading days. You can get rid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like 20 people can win this.
Oh,
You know, and I was thinking like
but it's like so limited, you know?
it's so limited. But then I'm thinking like if you can do that for fun, then
Why not just
surely,
do it?
yeah, just do it. You know what I mean? Like because everyone was wanting. Like when they were announcing like 3 days time, 2 days time, everyone wanted like getting on TradingView. You know, that's a big one. Everyone was like, "Oh, we're going to be able to trade directly."
Yeah, I
TradingView.
thought that too, bro.
And, I was thinking they ain't gonna do that. They ain't gonna
Yeah.
do that. And then, but then the people were like, "Yeah, 500K account." You know, oh, the fairies were crazy. And then
Yeah.
no one saw that. I remember seeing though, like a Christmas present was the icon. So I was thinking, what could it be? They couldn't do a discount. I was thinking that would be too obvious. But then they came out with this. I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny, to be honest with you. Because again, it's like as a brand, no one would have saw that. You know, from FTMO as a prop.
100%, yeah.
Everyone else has done. Here's a discount, or here's an extra 12 days on your on your account, on your challenge. But the reality is, in December, people don't really trade the end of December anyway. So really, they're just saying, okay, those days that you're not going to trade, we'll give them to you.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
But reality is, most people will buy it and end up trying to trade anyway.
Yeah.
And end up probably losing.
exactly.
So yeah, it's the same old cycle. One thing I will touch on though, do you know when you were doing the transition or finding that consistency, did you find that having a cash cushion, like because you said you were doing like flip accounts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So doing like things like prop firms and challenges, did it help having sort of a cash cushion there, like cash reserves,
100%.
so that it wasn't just this is my only $500, for this prop?
100%, dude. That's why I brought up the whole thing about January when it came to like that account flip, because dude, I had like between December and January, I had enough reserves where it's like, all right, I can take the time to complete a challenge and stuff like that, right? And again, that was before I knew all these other funding companies that had the minimum trading days as only 1 or 3. But again, so with FTM, I'm like, all right, 10, I might as well take my time. Like, there's no point of rushing because I have 10 days anyways. But that was kind of the thought process then, and dude, anyone who has like any cash reserves when it comes to like whether from personal accounts, whether it's like a good paying job, that's always going to help with trading, because you're not going to feel inclined, not even just inclined, but you're not going to even feel the pressure as to perform. Like if I lose a $500 challenge account, like I'm going to be fine. I'm not going to lose sleep over. Obviously, I would like not to lose it.
Of course, yeah.
Right? I'm not trying to say like, oh yeah, I don't really care at all.
Mm.
But like, I'm just saying like, my bills are still going to be paid.
Yeah.
I still have money in my savings. I still have like money like in other
You've done
investments.
that financial foundation. That's what I like to call that. You've done the work necessary to build that foundation.
Exactly.
To build, the stability, the confidence, the clarity. Because without that, it is stressful, And, when it's stressful like that, it's definitely, it leads to negative results in a way.
100%.
That's why I always say to people, like, have a cash cushion. Like that was a big thing in my journey. Like I kept, it's obviously my fault in terms of discipline, but I didn't help myself, by not having any savings, by kept using money from the job that wasn't really money I could afford to lose. Like if I lost it, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I wouldn't just suddenly be homeless, but I could have done with that money to save, to build a financial foundation, to pay off credit card debts, etc. So I was losing this money. And then as soon as I decided, okay, I'm going to put in the work to, whilst I'm developing my discipline and my edge, I'm going to put the work in money-wise into putting, building, getting rid of debts and building a cash cushion. Once I did that, and then, whilst I was spending time building the edge, allowing that to be the work, the focus, as soon as that was in place, that was when, I would take a trade or do a challenge or deposit money in an account, and I'd be way calmer. Because now I'm not trading for the need of money. I have money there, I have it there, 3 months worth of money, 6 months worth of expenses there, done. Peace of mind. You know, it's not like me losing this account means I'm going to need that money anyway, right? But I'm doing it in the right way.
Exactly.
You know, it's harder, it's longer, but it's necessary, I think, because it's the same with any other conventional business as well. Like if you try and run a business with no money, it's very difficult and
Yeah,
stressful.
good luck.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and then that's where a lot of people fail because that's what they try and do. You know, they're not willing to sacrifice first, you know, and do the painful route because they want it now, right? And it's good to hear, obviously, that was something that's beneficial in your journey. So now, obviously, you're trading, you probably got a personal,
Yeah.
you probably got, we got the prop firms as well. What does that look like then? What is the consistent trader, you know, how does that feel? Is it what everyone thinks? It's just, you know,
No, yeah. So
wake up and fresh and easy.
nah, you know, it's funny, man, because like when people talk about consistent trader, right? I don't think people really understand what that term really means.
Yeah.
Like all right, let's just keep, like, obviously, like, you know, the easy way to the easy way to explain it is just like someone who's making money consistently. But the problem is this, right? So many people will have like a bad week, you know what I mean, maybe not making that much money for that week, and then they think, oh yeah, they internalize that as like, I'm not a consistent trader, right? People who have like low confidence. But it's like, dude, it's not about this week, it's not about this month. Are you making money throughout each quarter, each year?
Yeah.
You have to think in a bigger perspective. Like,
Yeah.
I'll have like, you know, maybe a week or two where I'm not trading that well and I'm not performing that well. Does that mean I'm not a consistent trader? I might be even down after 2 weeks. Does that mean I'm not a consistent trader? That's the thing that people have to kind of get over, man. It's not like, because social media gives this false representation of like, oh yeah, I have to be consistent. If I'm not consistent every single week, if I'm not making every single money every single week, I'm not a consistent trader. It's like, dude, is your P&L positive at the end of each quarter? That's a better way to frame it. You know what I mean? Is your P&L positive at the end of the year? That's the number one thing that matters, dude. Everything else in between is like, all, I don't want to say it's like, you know, nonsense, because obviously you have to reflect on like the trades that you've taken, journaling and stuff like that, making sure that, you know, you're
it matters that as long as you're disciplined to your edge, then it's fine.
Exactly.
Like you trust that process. That's the whole point of thinking in probabilities and trading with an edge. But if you're not doing that, then of course you have things to work on. Right?
Exactly.
But that's the thing. So like, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the consistent trader. So to be consistent in the first place, you had to, you know, trade with an edge, you know, trade with those probabilities. So if you're not doing that, then you wouldn't have been consistent in the first place.
Exactly.
Know? So you, by that point, you already understand. And that's why it's not a fact where it's like, it's easy, but it's a lot more calmer because you understand that that's going to happen. It's like, I can't remember who said it. Someone said it recently, but it's something that really resonated with me, which was, you know, reflect on your journey or think of your journey as, you know, you're not reviewing the lower time frames, right? It's erratic there.
Yeah,
it's crazy there. It's emotional.
That's actually
there.
really good. Yeah.
You know, you always, you know, the bigger picture is where it's more calmer, right? So that's why, you know, I do a forecast every week. I think you do a forecast too, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I would say that your forecast, I know that mine is as well, is very accurate, week to week, very accurate. Doesn't mean that I've traded it, right? Doesn't
100%.
doesn't mean that just because I said it's going to go lower first, then go higher, then maybe attack this after, whatever, you know, detailed, like point for point. And it'll play out just like that. But that doesn't mean I traded it because maybe my edge didn't form. Maybe I wasn't on the charts, whatever it may be. But it just goes to show like higher time frame, like viewing the picture from the higher time frame is much clearer, much calmer.
That's so accurate.
You know,
man.
so with our journey, it's the same thing. It's like we could think about like in the moment, let's say right now, what day is it? It's Thursday. Let's say I took a loss today. I could sit here and say, oh my God, I took a loss today and I didn't take a trade all week last week because there was no trades for me. And now I've taken a loss. I'm a shit trader. I could think that, or I could go, you know what? Last month I did 8%. It's fantastic. You know, my highest month of the year. Does that mean now? Because that's what happens is someone might have a really good period. Then they have a little bit of a slowdown or maybe a bit of a negative.
Recency bias.
Yeah, and then they go from extremely positive to extremely negative. And then the problem is when they get to extremely negative, because they felt extremely positive and thought, I've cracked it. When the negative comes, they're not ready for it. They've overextended what they believe is consistent trading to a point where now they think, even though they're doing the same thing, right? But they just didn't get a trade. They got one loss. And now they're questioning it. You know, they're questioning everything.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy how like the human psychology is, because it's recency bias, because you put too much, people put too much emphasis in the now. You know, and again, I was like that too. And even now, like I'm not gonna act like I'm 100% all the time. Like I can kind of gather like information from like previous data in terms of like, all right, I had all these accomplishments with trading. Like, kind of reflect on that, and it's like, all right, you know what, you're going through a little bit of a rough period right now, rough week or whatever. Dude, you can still do this. Just stick to what you know, stick to what you do. You know what I mean? If you're mentally maybe not there, maybe reduce risk a little bit. Like, there's ways to go about it, but it's just like, at the end of the day, you got to have confidence, man. If you don't have confidence to execute, it's honestly such a detriment, because dude, every single trade is gonna go through a drawdown. I don't care who you are, I don't care how talented you are gonna 100% go through a drawdown period. And I'm not talking about like a day or two. I'm talking about like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. Like, it's very possible.
Can't even be a month.
Yeah, exactly. It could even be a negative month. You know what I mean? But again, it's gonna come down to, are you someone who's gonna be able to pick yourself back up from that, or are you gonna kind of go completely on the deep end, start over risking to make the money back, start over trading? That's a reality. And I will say this. One thing about the prop firm that at the very least will, like, I think is very beneficial to a lot of people, is at the very least, if you blow that account, man, you're still safe because you're not losing your money. But if you're going on tilt, like I'm talking about like full on tilt, and you have $10,000 of your own money, $50,000 of your own money, $100,000 of your own money, and you go on tilt, especially with the margin that Forex brokers provide, right? Assuming you're using an unregulated one that has 1 to 200, 1 to 500, right? Because in the US, we're limited to 1 to 50, so it's very hard to blow a $100,000 account. But if you have 1 to 500 and you have $50,000 in your account, 1 to $100,000 in your account, it is very, bro, you can blow it like this.
You can blow it in one trade, yeah.
In one trade, and it's happened to people. James Storms, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
I'm not there.
Yeah, but he's part of like the whole Miami group, but like,
okay.
But he's very honest with, like, because he's also like about that flip account type of lifestyle, and he was very honest. Like, dude, he had a $50,000 account, flipped it to 80 grand, and I think in one trade just blew everything.
Yeah.
And again, that's the scary part with the 1 to 500 leverage. So that is one thing about prop firms I think is very beneficial. That even if you go on full tilt, at the very least, it protects you, where you're not going to blow your life savings or something like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the very least, you're protected in that sense. But yeah, man, it's very, very possible that some people who don't have that much confidence in themselves, they go through a rough period, and then they just kind of lose all hope. It's like everything's just, the world is ending,
This is an interesting thing, because I've had traders recently reach out to me, and I think it's something to do with the time of year for sure. Like, the end of the year's coming, they probably said to themselves at the start of the year, saying, this is the year. Everything changes. And I get it, because, they're milestones, these years, 2022, 2023. So I can sit there and say, I started trading 2016, just like with you, you can say this year was the year that I started this, or this year this happened, the milestones. So I understand that principle, but, again, they're giving into the lower time frame, right? Of okay, we're in December and I haven't done this. But then higher time frame wise, their growth from January to December was immense.
Yeah.
Right? So I had these two guys this last, it was like this week. Weirdly, whenever I fly somewhere or go on holiday, that's when I get the most messages. I don't know why. It's like they wait for me to go away.
Right.
But yeah, they message. Honestly, they probably think, oh, he has time now.
Yeah, right.
But they messaged and they said, and these two guys in particular, I know them, and they've done, back-to-back 10% weeks, right? Weeks. So amazing result following the process, etc. After those weeks, there was a drought for 3 weeks of pretty much no trades. Then another week or two came along where there were opportunities, which probably would have resulted in quite decent weeks again, weeks, but they had to wait through that period. So the 2 weeks, they felt amazing, of course. They're like, oh, I've smashed this.
Yeah.
Exactly where I want to be. The gap happens. They're struggling a little bit, thinking, oh, do I need to change the edge?
Yeah, that's the biggest mistake, man.
I said, no, keep to the edge.
Yeah.
It worked. Look, you've seen the result of it. You just have to be patient to let it play out. Okay, these 2 weeks come where the strategy is now playing out again, but because of that gap in between, their psychology's all over. They're hesitant to pull the trigger.
It's crazy.
Then they get a negative result, and now they're messaging, oh, I feel like I've just gone backwards. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I haven't passed a prop firm yet. I've done 5 and I haven't failed them, but haven't passed them, for example. And I understand, it's a stressful journey, right? It's a stressful journey. It has ups and downs, but you will keep going through that cycle unless you really start to have that accountability, like you said, and have that confidence in yourself, right? And just understand that's the market. For you to have a 20% in, say, 2-3 weeks, it's incredible.
Really
that's
is,
incredible. Yeah. So, like, yeah, that's a rarity, I would say. That won't happen all the time. But that 1 month in a year, I say there's always 1 month in a year normally where you'll kill it.
Yeah.
You're on point.
Yeah.
Right? Normally the month after that will probably be a dead month.
Yeah.
It's normally how it goes for me. Like, I'll have a month where it's absolutely smashed. and I'll be so happy. And normally I will purposely now, back in the day I wouldn't, I'd keep going. Then I'd probably end up giving it back.
Yeah.
But thankfully, learning from it, when that happens, I know, okay, next month I'm going to take it off.
Exactly.
You know, this month paid for 3-4 months, that's it. But I'll take the next month off. I'll still observe, maybe there's something nice, but I won't be, in my head, I know I'm not trying to be active, you know?
Yeah, and honestly, the good thing that you touched upon there, man, is it's kind of taking a break in between periods of time. Like if you're killing it, man, I honestly think it's very important for you to kind of not just you, but I'm talking about like, you know, traders in general. Dude, take your foot off the pedal a little bit. You know what I mean? It's okay to kind of sit back if you had a great month. I'm not saying like completely stop trading. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like, you know, because again, like you said, the market is going to change at some point. And if you're too overconfident and you start to give back majority of the gains, that's going to be detrimental to your psychology. So just avoid that. Okay, like you realize, okay, I had a great month. Now I'm going to take my foot off the gas a little bit, right? I'm going to just observe. I'm going to wait to see, is the market still hot? If it is, keep going, keep pushing. But also just, it's very important to kind of just be reflective, because you have to understand like the market does change, and it changes right at the moment you wouldn't even expect it.
Yeah.
You could have, it's so crazy how like 1 week you can have great volatility. Bro, every retracement you're buying is just flying to the moon.
Yeah.
And then the following week, that same retracement, nothing changed. Same setup, right? Just the volatility just might be less. That same retracement, now it consolidates after the retracement.
Yeah.
Or it's a full-on reversal, and then you get stopped out. And then people are like, oh my God, then I got to start focusing on reversals. It's like, no. Like you said, allow the edge to play out over time. Stop having too much recency bias. Now, again, if the edge doesn't work after like, you know, a few months, then maybe it's time to tweak something. Yeah. But then it's like, in the meantime, it's like, dude, you might have a great week. You might have a solid week. You might have a average week. You might have a bad week. But then you just kind of like over the span of a quarter, right? Like 3 months. How are you doing? Even at the end of every month, you can always reflect, okay, how was this month? How was that month?
A lot of people don't reflect.
Yeah, they don't.
A lot of people, they don't look at their data. They don't look over what they need to, you know, the information that is necessary for their growth.
Exactly.
Unfortunately. But I think we're coming towards the end of our time. So I'm going to wrap up with one final question for you, because I found it interesting. You mentioned obviously the different people you learned from.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where it's quite heavy SMC, you know, style.
Yeah.
You know, but then I don't think you use SMC, I think.
Yeah.
You'd agree. But I feel like your strategy is a bit different though.
It's primarily market structure. Yeah,
this is what I mean. Yeah, so like it's not like heavy order blocks and 1 minute breaker structure, etc., etc. It's more, it's designed for you, obviously, what works for you, which is important. But how did you find that? Because a lot of people, they go headfirst and they dive into SMC and then they stay there and they stay stuck, not being consistent. Probably because they believe SMC is the master holy grail. But how did you sort of develop and make the choices to just, okay, this works for me?
Yeah, so honestly, it's funny because I have a video on my channel too where I talk about like what holds SMC traders back. Nice. Because again, I'm speaking from experience. It's not from people think every single time, like God forbid you have any critique within the concepts and stuff like that. People automatically assume, oh, he's just being negative and all this stuff. But it's like, no, I'm speaking from my own personal experiences, bro. Yeah. I personally did not see any results, significant results, right? Because I was still having success trading some of the SMC concepts, but I was missing a framework. And that's when, like I told you, like, when I went through WWA, right, they were teaching me about market structure. That was the first time. And mind you, I know people see like, you learn market structure 2 years in, like, but bro, it was because of ignorance. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't have that knowledge. So I didn't learn market structure in the beginning. I was learning like SMC, all this market maker stuff. That was what I was first learning from Steve Morrow, from ICT and stuff like that. And then when I went through like, you know, different market structure, like courses and WWA and stuff like that, that was when everything kind of gelled together. And that's why I tell people who are like, you know, a little bit new, maybe a year in, 2 years in, who are only focused 100% on ICT or smart money concepts, whether they're learning it from ICT or from someone else. It's like, dude, like, I'm not saying don't learn it, right? But I'm also saying like, don't be so close-minded that if like after 6 months or so, maybe like 3 to 6 months, right? If you see no progression, like what progression is, I have to be careful there, because progression when it comes to like learning is not necessarily making money, but I'm talking about like your ability to read the market. Is it getting better? Yeah. Because again, you could read the market and still be like losing money. That's very common. But at the very least, is your skill set improving where you know, okay, I think the market is going to go from here to here at this specific level to clear this liquidity pool, whatever, right? Yeah. Off of this imbalance, using like smart money terms. Like if your ability to get better in terms of predicting the market is actually like, you know, is slowly getting progressively better, then it's important to just keep going. You know, don't deviate. But dude, if after 3-6 months you feel like your skill set is still like I look at the chart after 6 months of studying this stuff. I'm talking about like real studying, not just like, oh yeah, let me just spend 20 minutes a day,
just
no
surface
chart
level,
work. Yeah, but I'm talking about like real studying. Then it's like, dude, you're gonna like look somewhere else. Don't be that person who's gonna be like 2 years in. And I've known people who like 5, 6, 7 years in doing the same thing, and it's just like, dude, you're gonna have to at some point, if you want to see a little bit more progress, you're gonna have to kind of learn different things, different tools. And again, because you don't know what works for you, you might think smart money concepts is gonna be the all and be all, but it might not. It might not be for you. And again, I'm not saying it doesn't work for me, but again, I didn't feel like I was gonna scale up my trading to the next level just with the SMC. That was just me personally. But again, I use it now because again, smart money concepts with market structure allows me to identify higher probability smart money concepts, like higher probability imbalances, higher probability order blocks. But that's all because I know where structure is, you know? And again, another thing, just the last thing I'm going to talk about in terms of structure, even structure, in my opinion, is not going to be the all and be all for most people, because you also have to have the innate ability to identify which liquidity pool does the market want to go for. Does the market want to fill an imbalance? Does the market want to retest an order block that hasn't been retested? Does the market want to clear highs or lows? That framework is the most important thing. It trumps everything. Some guy I remember on Twitter, his Twitter handle is like the market maker trade or something like that, right? Shout out to him, but he had a tweet that was like spot on. He was like, market structure, again, I'm paraphrasing, but he was saying the draw on liquidity is the most important thing in your trading in terms of building a narrative. That is 100% super accurate, because again, market structure doesn't mean anything either. You could be bearish, you could have a bearish market structure.
You need that fuel.
Exactly, but if there's no liquidity, then the market structure might get broken, you might get chopped up. But when you have a draw on liquidity that's very clear, right? Let's just say equal highs, just keep it very surface level, beginner level, and you have bullish market structure, and you have equal highs that's resting, right? And then you see all the smart money concepts, like the imbalances are being respected during a specific kill zone, like during the higher liquidity times.
Getting all the layers.
Exactly. Then you like, okay, like now I have the narrative is there with the liquidity pool. The market structure is showing higher highs, higher lows. Every single discount level is being respected in terms of like, order blocks, imbalances, whatever you guys are using, breakers. Now you have a very high probability opportunity to take that trade, knowing that all three are kind of in alignment. But I do think the narrative part, and I see students struggle with this a lot, because they'll see structure, or they'll see a order block, or they'll see an imbalance, but they don't have the narrative down because they're so focused on the lower time frame, M15.
M1. Most people.
M1, and it's just like, again, I'm not trying to say it doesn't work, but it's just mind baffling that people don't realize like, man, you're gonna have to have an H1, H4 daily framework, because those ones, they have the biggest ranges for, and especially like on a daily chart, if you know that there's a liquidity pool that's resting and it's 200 pips away, bro, if you time a good entry on that, you know what I mean? You can milk that 200 pip move day in, day out. So the draw on liquidity, man, number one, and then I think structure and SMC complement each other as well.
I think so. Yeah, no, because what I always say is, you can have a particular favorite aspect, right? It might be structure, might be liquidity. You can have your foundation, if you will, and then you have to build the layers on top. Like, it would be too easy if it was like, okay, structure is all you need at all.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I agree.
You have to have the layers, and like you said, the framework, the story, right? Without the story, even as a scalper, even if you are a scalper on the 1 minute, by having the higher time frame story, it's only going to aid you in choosing high probable trades. Because how often does it happen where a 1 minute move or price action shows on the 1 minute, but then higher time frames, it's the complete opposite direction, and which one normally works out? 9 out of 10 times, exactly. 10 out of 10 times the higher time frame, right? But yet people are so fixated on lower time frames and high risk to rewards, etc., that they kind of get lost in the source.
They do, man.
But no, well, Omar, thank you very much for coming down. Hopefully we'll do this again.
Yeah, of course. Next time in London, hopefully.
Definitely, 100%. But thank you everyone for tuning in. As always, be sure to comment your thoughts, what your biggest thing that you took away. Like the video, help us get out there more. And Omar's channel, YouTube channel, and Twitter, and any other socials will be in the description. So make sure you check that out as well. But until next time.